What fact is ignored generously? Being at a job for a long time does not mean someone is good at their job. Coworker of mine used to say there is 10 years of experience and then there is 1 year of experience repeated 10 times. This is true. There are people with years of experience, but with entry-level skill. I had a coworker that constantly brought up how many more years of experience he had than me as an argument for why we should do something a particular way. It was only about 2 years more. He was a jackass. Been in a similar situation. Coworker 1 said, "This is the way it's been done since before you were born." Coworker 2 said, "So you're saying you've been waiting my entire life for me to show you the easy way?" Human memory is extremely unreliable. We forget important details. We fabricate memories and convince ourselves that they're true. What we do remember is distorted to conform to our biases. When I was 5, my parents surprised my older sister and I with a trip to Disneyland really early in the morning before our flight. 4 years I had this memory of it happening and being so excited. They videotaped the whole thing, but we had lost the video for years. When we found it, I saw that I was actually asleep the whole time. I had completely made up the memory based on my sister and parents talking about it. Yeah, this is especially crazy to me. You can fabricate memories off of talking and thinking about it. Sometimes when you think about things like that long enough you can forget they aren't real. This is why witness testimony is extremely unreliable. True. Witness testimony is only really good if a lot of witnesses all report seeing the same thing. And even then, it's unreliable because of things like mob mentality. Prevention is more affordable than treatment. Dubiously related, every time the medical field finds a way to treat a condition, it just opens up the road to a harder to treat, more expensive condition. Yeah, antibiotics really ducked us by inventing old age. Just because I don't agree with you doesn't mean I hate you. And conversely, just because I agree with you doesn't mean I like you. Both of these points are excellent. No, they are not. But I still like you. Admitting to a mistake is not a sign of weakness. Bending over backwards to cover it up and pretending like it never happened is. It's in your best interests too. If you don't backquote on your mistakes, others will and may use them against you. Be careful which mistakes you own. Turns out bragging about your restraining orders doesn't get you a second date. The problem is, and this is very relevant to corporate life, when you accept a mistake you are very quickly thrown under the bus by the a-holes who are looking for a scapegoat. The number of people who die after a war to consequences of war, hunger, disease, etc. are not counted in the statistics. Sometimes many times more as well. A large battle can kill tens of thousands, wars many times that, but disease can absolutely wreck countries. As an example of an underrated disease, the plague of Justinian is estimated to have killed 30 to 50 million people in a time when the human population was 100 million. No war, no matter how brutal, maybe except nuclear, can kill 30-50% of humanity. Humans overestimate what they can do in a day and underestimate what we can achieve in a year. You are not immune to propaganda. Fun word fact. The term propaganda originally referred to a Catholic Church committee for propagating the faith during the Counter-Reformation. This comment was brought to you by Big Etymology. Actually, propaganda comes from when a British person gets a good look at something. Most people seem to think that free press equals no propaganda or no biased views, although free press is 1,000 times better than state-controlled fundamentally biased propaganda media. It is still flawed. Most people don't like to call their own opinion pieces propaganda either. That we all have confirmation bias. In my studies I've found that I do not. Oh wait, I controlled for my confirmation bias. Turns out I have the smallest confirmation bias. No one has a smaller confirmation bias than I do in the entire academia, and people come up to me and tell me I'm the most objective researcher and I write papers with the most logical conclusions and most rigorous models. No bias, they have the bias. But I have no bias. My bias level is tremendously non-existent. This annoys me so much because I'm a scientist and so many scientists will act on their biases thinking they're being completely rational and have trouble mixing subjective opinions with facts, especially when people are involved. That just because someone tells you something is a fact doesn't mean that it is. Make sure to do your research. I'll take your word for it. Mob mentality doesn't mean you are right. This needs to be higher. Will solve 85% of the world's problems. For it to be higher, wouldn't a mob of people have to upvote it? Just because it's legally allowed doesn't mean you're not a douchebag for doing it. Example, free speech isn't freedom from consequence. You legally can say, "Nah, whatever you want." Doesn't mean people won't call you a duck for it. Everyone is a huge hypocrite when it suits them, including me. The irony of this statement is that if you're ever in a situation where being a hypocrite would suit you, but you aren't a hypocrite, then you are a hypocrite because you said you would be but weren't. My brain hurts. Just because some people are naturally talented doesn't mean you shouldn't work hard. Hard work can beat talent when talent doesn't work hard, as my undergrad advisor was fond of saying. But when talent works hard, it's game over. The importance of getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep every single night. To add to this, 7 to 9 hours of sleep is not the same as a 7 to 9 hour sleep opportunity window. If you're giving yourself a 7-hour sleep opportunity window, you are not getting 7 hours of sleep. Probably more like 6. Most people are not very smart, and even the smart ones are dumb sometimes. And dumb ones can get dumber. Extra dumb too. Dumbledore. I'm a lawyer. I have to frequently interact with people way outside my usual social circles. Jesus Christ, the bottom quarter of people are so ducking stupid I'm at a loss for words. Giving birth to a kid doesn't make you an expert on raising them, nor do they owe you for being born. A lot of people need to realize this. Way too many need to. TikTok is literally Chinese spyware, but at the same time, Gmail and Facebook are pretty much American spyware. This is a much better ignored fact. Imo. I tell people this and they laugh. I tell my friends this and they call me racist. Not as racist as China kicking black people out of McDonald's, which funnily enough is one of the least racist things they do. Older doesn't always mean wiser. Wisdom is obtained from what you do with your time. It's not about how much time you've had. Just remember, stupid people get old too. Every single year, cruise ships dump 14 billion pounds of garbage into the oceans. Probably not this year. Just saying. We may see the end of that industry altogether if we are lucky. You have blinkers for your car so that you can tell other drivers that you're changing lanes. Fun fact, it's the law, and you need to put them on before you start to move lanes. Facts aren't opinions. I wish I could upvote this a million times. I'm getting really sick and tired of people who argue 2 points, where one is arguing from evidence-based facts, the other is arguing from a YouTube conspiracy video, and the second tries to take the high road with, "You have your opinion, I have mine." No, you ducking window licker. Person A has facts, you have idiocy. You aren't supposed to stick Q-tips in your ears. You can't stop me. He wasn't telling you to stop, he just gave you a Q-tip. Sticks Q-tips in ears. La la la, I can't hear you, la la la. I'm an ER doctor. I see stupid shut like ruptured eardrums from Q-tip use frequently enough. I will never stop sticking Q-tips all the way in there. Human nature's a bitch. Animals are much more brutal than people realize. We only see the cute cuddly side on the internet. Cheetah makes friends with a goat, gets more views than warthog gets eaten alive by lions and lasts a surprisingly long time while it's happening. Animals will eat you alive if they don't think you're a threat to injury. It's out of survival. Something bigger and badder might come along, and they won't have eaten anything. No, the leopard didn't kill the animal before eating it out of compassion. It just didn't want to take a hoof to the head while it was having lunch. I watched 3 lionesses hunt a warthog and its piglet up close once. 2 of the lionesses made themselves seen, while the third slid behind a small mound and snuck through the grass. The warthog stayed focused on the 2 lions in the open. The hunter got within a few feet and crouched low, ready to strike. Something alerted the warthogs and they took off like a rocket. The lioness, being the queen of the savannah, rolled on her side and started licking her paw. Hugely disappointing. Concentration camps in China are still going on. This 12-minute BBC piece sums it all up very concisely. Oh, and they are supplanting the now imprisoned for thought crimes who are husbands/fathers with single, ethnically Han Chinese men in their own households. They are literally relocating the majority ethnicity to replace and wash out the minority culture and people. France didn't stop executing people by guillotine until 1977. And slavery wasn't legally considered a crime against humanity until 2001. Comparatively speaking, it was a humane way of executing people. Being well known doesn't always make you popular, as you may be well known for pissing yourself in class. This really depends on how you define popular. Frequently encountered as one of the definitions of popular. Also, don't judge me for pissing in class. Alcohol is poison. Alcohol is the best poison. r/Herian has entered the chat. Being rich doesn't mean you're great with money or someone who should be trusted with business decisions. Or smart. People love to assume that. And being rich doesn't mean you have class. Never underestimate the power of stupid people in large groups. George Carlin. Great minds think alike, but fools rarely differ. Depends on the agenda of the people doing the ignoring. People only care about the facts that agree with them. That a plus b squared does not equal to a squared plus b squared. As a geometry teacher, I feel this. My students all learned this last year and then promptly forgot it. Me, you need to multiply it out. Remember FOIL? Student. Me, from last year. Student. Me, demonstrates, like this. Student, I have to do that every time. Me, yes. Forever and always. The rules of math have not changed since last year. Orcas and dolphins aren't happy in those aquatic parks. Baffled that this isn't intuitive or obvious to most people. The majestic and spacious ocean or a tiny tank surrounded by farty, loud creatures? You shouldn't have a child unless you are emotionally and financially ready and have a stable partner. Which means never for most people. Sounds good. A cure for overpopulation. Most people over 20 already met a murderer at least once in their lifetime. I dated a murderer before I was even 20. Before he became a murderer, of course. Whoa, he didn't murder you, did he? The government is trying to pass an anti-encryption bill that could strip away any and all privacy given to US citizens. That science can't prove a negative. Show that vaccines don't give autism? We have never found that they do in the many studies done, but you can't have positive proof for something negative. There's a giant pedo ring in Hollywood going on, and has been going on for decades. Also, Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself. Being obese is extremely unhealthy and shouldn't be celebrated. Just because someone has served in the armed forces doesn't mean they deserve respect or are a good person. That you should really get off your phone and go to sleep.